Gimmelwald does not announce itself. It is simply there, embedded in the slope, as if the mountain had one day decided to learn how to live. Before any path, before any name, there is silence, a dense silence, shaped by the wind rising from the valley and by the rock descending from the sky. The village does not impose itself on the landscape. It accepts the place it has been granted. Here, the feeling is of crossing an invisible threshold. The world below continues to exist, but it loses its urgency. Time slows, not by choice, but by necessity. Each house, each wooden fence, each small window seems placed with the care of those who know that everything must endure: the cold, the snow, the years. Gimmelwald is a contained space, almost intimate. There are no grand architectural gestures, only continuity. The buildings follow the inclination of the land, as if obeying an ancient rule. Do not challenge the mountain, but converse with it. The green of the pastures, the gray of the rock, and the dark brown of the wood create a palette that has repeated itself for centuries. In this place, isolation is not escape. It is an inherited choice. A way of living in which the essential gains weight and the superfluous simply does not arrive. Gimmelwald exists as a world within a world, small, silent, whole. Dawn in Gimmelwald is in no hurry. Light spreads slowly between the mountains, caressing the rooftops, the pasture lands, and the pines that brush the sky. There are no horns or urban noises to mark the start of the day. Only the soft song of a distant bird, the sound of a stream dragging its way through the landscape, and perhaps the ringing of church bells down below in the valley. It is within this silence that the village begins to wake. The first to rise is the sun, its timid rays illuminating the weathered wooden windows. Life in the mountains seems more connected to natural light than to any clock. It is not a fixed hour, but an instinctive moment. When the day begins, so does the routine. People do not rush into their tasks. They carry them out with an ancestral calm, as if moving in step with the land itself. In the streets, more paths than roads, residents begin to appear. Their first steps are taken carefully, perhaps because of lingering ice or uneven ground. Everyone carries an air of tranquility, as if in tune with nature and the rhythm it dictates. There is a peace that settles into the body, like a reflection of the mountains that surround the village. And even in the simplicity of dawn, something profound reveals itself. Each moment, each gesture seems imbued with a quiet harmony. Gimmelwald is a place where time bends so gently that over the years it becomes almost invisible. Work in Gimmelwald does not begin with a command, but with observation. The weather, the sky, the behavior of the animals, everything is read before any decision is made. Here, to work is to interpret signs. The mountain sets the rhythm, and over generations, the villagers have learned to listen to it closely. The fields around the village are small, sloped, demanding. Nothing is overly mechanized because the terrain allows no shortcuts. Care for the cattle is still done up close, almost body to body. Hands know each animal, each fence, each path that leads to the higher pastures. The milk collected in the morning is not just production, it is continuity, a gesture repeated for decades, perhaps centuries. There is also invisible work, the kind that does not appear in sweeping landscapes, repairing roofs before winter, stacking firewood with precision, keeping paths passable when snow decides to close off the world. These are tasks that allow no improvisation. A small mistake could cost comfort, safety, or far too much time. In Gimmelwald, work is not separate from life. It blends into daily routine, into brief conversations and long silences. There is no modern sense of urgency, but there is responsibility. Each task carries real weight because it sustains the village as a single organism. Here, working is not about producing more. It is about maintaining balance between what the mountain allows and what human beings need. The houses of Gimmelwald do not tell dates, but they tell stories. The wood, darkened by time, holds the marks of sun, snow, and wind, layers of life accumulated in silence. Each chalet seems to have grown alongside the mountain, adjusting to the slope of the land, respecting the direction of the wind, accepting the early arriving winter shade. Nothing here was made to impress us. The architecture is born of necessity. Steep roofs to bear the weight of snow, small windows to retain heat, simple balconies used to dry hay, store tools, or simply observe the valley in silence. Everything has a clear function, and it is precisely this that creates beauty. Some structures remain almost unchanged across generations. Renovations do not erase the past, they reinforce it. A beam replaced, a wall strengthened, always preserving the original language. History is not kept as a distant memory, but as something in continuous use. To walk through Gimmelwald is to move through a book without pages. There are no explanatory plaques, only subtle signs. The way houses cluster to shield themselves from the wind, barns positioned strategically, paths that connect everything organically. The village does not store its history in museums, it inhabits it. Every open door, every creak of the floorboards, every scent of old wood is a reminder that here the past did not stay behind. It continues to support the present. In Gimmelwald, eating is an act of closeness. Everything begins just a few steps from the front door, in the pasture, the barn, the small plot of land that withstands the cold. Food is not an aesthetic choice, but a direct consequence of the place. What the mountain offers determines what arrives at the table. Milk is central. It moves through the day in different forms, transformed with patience, respecting the time each process requires. Nothing is rushed. The flavor carries the pasture, the climate, the season. To eat here is to recognize the territory in every detail, as if the landscape itself could be tasted. In Gimmelwald, self-sufficiency does not mean complete isolation, but autonomy, a kind of knowledge passed on without formality, learned by observing, repeating, making few mistakes. The food does not tell grand stories, but it reveals something essential. Living here is about accepting limits and turning them into sustenance. In Gimmelwald, the year is not divided by months, but by sensations. The change of seasons is not merely visual, it redefines the rhythm of the village, the mood of its people, the way time is felt in the body. Each season arrives with authority, and no one tries to resist it. Winter is the most demanding. It draws houses closer, stretches the nights, and reduces the world to what is essential. Snow silences everything, covering paths, rooftops, and fields. Life moves inward. The lit fire, the crackling wood, the waiting. There is a natural introspection during this time, as if the village were breathing inward, conserving energy. When spring emerges, it does not explode, it seeps in. Small signs announce the change, the thaw, the sound of water running stronger, green returning cautiously. Work returns to the fields, but still with respect for the unstable weather. Summer is openness. Pastures grow tall, days lengthen, and the village expands beyond the home. Everything happens with more light, more movement, more presence. Even so, there is no excess, only fullness. Autumn, finally, teaches how to close cycles, to prepare, to store, to accept what was possible to do. In Gimmelwald, the seasons do not pass, they shape. Gimmelwald does not keep spectacular secrets. What exists here are discrete layers, almost invisible to those who do not live long enough to perceive them. These are habits maintained without announcement, traditions that survive because they never needed to be explained. there are stories that circulate in low voices, told more as remembrance than as narrative. Small events from the past, harsh winters, generous summers, decisions made collectively, remain alive in the memory of those who stayed. Nothing is romanticized. Everything is remembered with sobriety. Some paths are only used at certain times of the year. Certain doors open only to those who already know how to knock. There are unwritten rules about silence, about help, about presence. They are learned by observing, making few mistakes, listening more. The relationship with the mountain also carries deep respect, not as fear, but as awareness. Knowing when not to go out, when to wait, when to accept that the day does not allow movement. This wisdom is not found in books. It lives in the body, passed down from generation to generation. The true secrets of Gimmelwald are not hidden. They are in plain sight, but they require time. Time to slow down, to notice repetitions, to understand that here, the extraordinary is precisely what remains the same. In Gimmelwald, community is not an abstract idea. It reveals itself in daily life, in the small, constant gestures that keep the village functioning. People know one another by name, by history, by individual rhythm. There is no anonymity, and that creates both responsibility and belonging. Mutual help happens without announcement, a path cleared after snowfall, an animal cared for in the owner's absence, a house watched over when someone needs to be away. These are not favors, they are silent agreements. Here, depending on others is not weakness, it is structure. Conversations are direct, often brief. Silence is not uncomfortable, it is part of communication. There is a quiet spirituality in the way life is shared, not necessarily tied to formal rituals, but present in attentiveness to others, in the awareness that no one gets through winter alone. Conflicts exist, as in any small place, but the space to ignore one another is limited. Resolution is part of collective survival. Time teaches what truly matters. In Gimmelwald, living in community does not mean always being together, but knowing that, when needed, someone will be there. That certainty shapes behavior, softens fear, and creates a rare kind of tranquility, one born of mutual trust. Gimmelwald offers no ready-made answers. It simply presents a possibility, a way of living in which time does not need to be conquered, organized, or accelerated, only accompanied. Here, the passing of days is not measured by achievements, but by continuity. The village teaches, in silence, that simplicity is not the absence of complexity, but the result of choices repeated over generations. Remaining in this place has always required adaptation, listening, and clear limits. Nothing grows without cost. Nothing endures without care. Observing Gimmelwald, one realizes that isolation is not synonymous with loneliness. On the contrary, it creates space for denser relationships, more conscious gestures, a fuller presence. Life unfolds on a human scale, aligned with the body, the climate, the landscape. The modern world follows its accelerated rhythm down below, invisible from here. But on this slope, between ancient wood and eternal rock, another logic continues to exist. A logic that does not seek to teach, only to persist. Gimmelwald remains because it does not resist time, but because it walks alongside it. And perhaps that is what makes it so quietly powerful. A reminder that living well is not about moving faster, it is about going deeper. Follow the channel and continue traveling through villages where life remains whole.